I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 56 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 5 of City Hunter, titled A Mischievous Mokkori Detective, A Beautiful Writer's Mystery Game.
Alright, we finally got one that's not a two-parter.
Yes, yeah, we're going to hold off on the two-parters right now. The writers must have figured we need to relax. We got a lot in these last 4 episodes, so
we can chill out, and
yeah.
This is a pretty chill episode. A very funny episode. The animators did some comedy.
The animators went ham. This isn't just anime, this is a damn cartoon this week.
Sure is. But before we talk about the episode, there's something that I wish we had talked about last episode.
So last week, we recorded our podcast pretty late in the evening, and, we had been done for maybe about an hour, right?
Certainly no more than 4 hours at most. I don't even think it was that long.
No, I think it was barely an hour that we had been done.
It was the same day, the exact same day, suddenly, oh, by the way, we got more news about that other City Hunter movie that you've been waiting for.
Ugh.
Thanks. We recorded this whole thing, and then you tell us, literally that same night, there's news. And Tsukasa Hojo confirms it, and he's like, yeah, and all the voice actors are coming back, which they better, they're real old, so they better get this in now while they can. And also something about, this is the final chapter of
It's the final chapter!
So I don't know if they mean, literally the final chapter of the manga, or they're just this is a final arc for them. Somebody interpreted it it's the final chapter, so is this gonna be a series of movies? And I don't think it's that.
No, I wouldn't get that.
No, I think it's just that this is covering what is probably the tail end of the manga as it was published in 91 or something like that. And I haven't completely read all the way to the end because reading the scanlations for the most part was a real pain, but I was semi-aware of a number of things that happened, and I became aware of those things thanks to some pachinko machines of all things.
Right, because when the City Hunter manga finished, there was still so much of the anime to be done, and we got that in the form of the series, and then a bunch of OVAs and things like that, but they never really continued the story that was there in the manga. So where do you have to go for that footage? You have to go to the pachinko parlor.
Which is really weird. It's weird that a bunch of that stuff apparently doesn't exist in any other animated format except trapped in pachinko machines, apparently. So, there's things that I learned about, is there someone's wedding? Is there someone's estranged family member that shows up?
And mind you, this isn't just one pachinko machine. This is over the course of 3 or 4 installments of pachinko games themed after City Hunter that you have to go to get this footage.
So it's those specific things that I kind of alluded to. They never show up in the anime, but they show up near the end of City Hunter's run, and it's my suspicion that those are the things that they are going to be covering in this upcoming movie coming out next year.
And they're things we'll try not to spoil anything, but they're things that are addressed does Ryo have any extra family running around? What is the relationship between Kaori and Ryo evolving into? And can Umibozu actually settle down?
Just so you know, you really didn't leave a lot of wiggle room when you asked those questions.
But I did not answer those questions.
Anyway, I think the movie will do that.
If the movie's going to do what we think it's going to cover, it's going to be very emotional, it's going to be very action-packed, and we assume with a name like Final Chapter is going to answer a lot of questions fans have been having for the better part of 30 years.
Well, they might not have those questions if they actually read the manga. I had to kind of skim through and confirm, is it what I think it is? Yes, it's basically what I think it is. Because thank you, pachinko machines.
The only people who know what happens are people who read the manga, the Japanese, and the French.
Yeah, also some other regions in the world that actually got a full translation. I hope Koamics manages to complete that for English. Help us out here, David. I need some help. I need some reassurances.
We gotta catch up. So yeah, now that we've got that housekeeping out of the way, by the way, we have to say thank you, Aniplex, thank you, Sunrise, for actually giving us an update. We will stop complaining now.
Yeah, but just keep up with those updates, and I'm good. I'm good.
But let's go ahead and get into the episode proper. So at the beginning of the episode, we see the outside of a hotel, just Hotel City. Not Hotel Sun City, just Hotel City.
I think the animators are just like, city. That's a word that's in the title of our show. I think that's just what they were going for, but it sort of gives this illusion of a city that is nothing but hotels, and that sounds like an incredibly boring city.
Like, what are you gonna say? I stayed in a Holiday Inn Express last night? So did everybody. That's all the city is made of.
You try to order a pizza, you have to wait for like 2 hours because they have to come from a different city to deliver it to you, because there's nothing but hotels in this one.
Wait, do any of the hotels have like their own restaurants indoors?
Oh,
Like,
they might.
If they're hotels, they got room service.
They might. Some might have continental breakfasts.
But in any case, we see Cowdy and Ryo making their way up into the hotel because they've taken on a job, which is to be the bodyguards for a mystery writer by the name of Azusa.
Azusa, hey, that's a town here in Los Angeles County.
In some places, it's a very common name.
Yeah, I understand that.
Now, I do want to point out that differently colored, Cowdy is wearing the jumpsuit again that makes her look like a Ghostbuster.
It's a good jumpsuit. Leave her alone.
No, I'm just saying she has multiples.
I know.
So they get up to the proper floor and they get out to see, okay, where's the writer's room? Oh, it's here. And the door seems to be open and the room is a mess. Cowdy finds that there's blood on the floor.
Oh no, this paper, all this paper that a writer is probably writing on is all covered in blood, and there's a trail of blood that leads into the bedroom, and they go and they...
Oh, nobody move, there's blood on the floor, and I can't find the client.
The client is in the next door where the trail of blood leads to. She's on the bed. But yes, she has a knife in her chest. And Ryo's like, you don't want to see this. Hold on, I'll take care of this. Pushes Kaori out of the room, shuts the door. Ryo knows this isn't real.
Yeah, we can tell very quickly that this is most likely just being staged. Ryo picked up on this very quickly and is now proceeding to inspect the body.
Just really taking advantage of the situation. Like, so I see that she has died from a stab wound to the chest, he says as he lifts her skirt to look at her undergarments rather than at her chest where the knife is.
And we see on the face of the would-be victim that her eyebrow twitches. Already we can tell she's faking this. This is a complete act. Now I stop here to say this is the beginning right here as Ryo is inspecting the body, mainly just to call her bluff. Starting here and for the rest of this episode, there are so many amazing faces that Ryo makes.
This is what I mean when I say this episode is such a cartoon. Like, it's barely anime anymore and has gone straight into cartoon. Because just big eyes, big mouths, big cartoony, like when people get hit, their faces get all squished up and mushed around all over the place. Just wild. I'm probably gonna end up making like a Twitter thread of just some of the best faces, and these faces go by so fast, like a single frame and it's gone. So if you don't catch it right away, you'll never see it. You blink and you miss it.
Like, we do our homework for each of these episodes that we record, but this particular episode took even longer because we're having to track all of the different facial reactions that, say, Ryo will go through in the span of like 2 seconds.
It is mostly Ryo's face, yeah. Not always, but mostly.
Like, he goes through like 5 different faces
in the span of less than 2 seconds, yeah.
And so right here, he's got this very lecherous face, you know, very defined bean mouth and bean eyes, kind of rolling into the back of his head as he says, oh, there seems to be signs of life in the victim. Time for me to do mouth to mouth.
But, well, hold on. He doesn't want a mouth to mouth until after he has taken one index finger and poked a boobie. He just one finger poke into a boob.
And when he does that, the body does in fact twitch, leading him to believe, oh, there is life here.
So that's where this mouth to mouth comes in, and he jumps out of his clothes, Lupin the Third style. Lady's not having that, so she just gives up. She gives up pretending that this is a real thing.
Well, no, he doesn't jump out of his clothes, but he does jump at her in the same style.
Well, okay, I lied. She gets up, and she's real upset about this. Like, what are you doing, you stupid weird man.
Also, how did you know I was faking it? And Rio tells her, look, I'm a professional. I know the difference between real blood and ink. Now, enough of that. Have at you. Sexually. And it's at that point when Kaori comes in with the hammer, and this one has something written on the side, Usotsuki, which means liar.
Because he lied to her about what was going on in that room, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, he lied to Kaori, hey, you don't need to be in here right now.
I know.
So now that that's all said and done with, they're out on the street walking together, the three of them now, and Azusa is kind of wondering if she chose correctly. Why is this the man that is my bodyguard? I can't stand this guy.
Isn't it the publisher that she writes for that assigned them to her?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Who we find out later is Wolf Books?
I guess so. I mean, we didn't actually hear that for ourselves.
But we saw it on the screen.
You see it on the screen literally in the last, 30 seconds of the episode.
I think it was the last 10.
Maybe.
And she's like, how is this guy going to protect me, this Mokkori man? And as she's saying that, Rio wraps his arm around her and is like, you shouldn't complain. I'm here to protect you. We should have no secrets between us. And in English, he says, my honey.
My honey. Super gross. Don't do this to women.
And so she socks him. Azusa socks him.
Kaori goes in to hit him, but Azusa seems to do this for herself just fine. She's pretty good at self-defense against Rio, actually.
And as he goes flying, again, amazing faces. As his teeth go flying, his eyes roll into the back of his head. It's amazing.
It's so good.
And so after she's made this right by punching him, she continues to explain that what she's working on currently is research for her new book. She wanted to do a hard-boiled detective story about the underworld, and she's trying to find out more about all of these things that go into what would make the perfect book. And so the best place to look for information on this is the local yakuza chapter.
Of course, she knows exactly where that is. Walks straight up to it, and I guess you can't just walk in the front door, so she's got to look over the wall, and Rio has to prop her up. And he's just very upset that he has to prop her up. Not because she's heavy or it makes him uncomfortable, but because she's wearing pants and not a skirt, and so he can't look up the skirt.
So when Azusa sees that nobody seems to be home, she tries to climb up over the wall that is separating them from the group. But unfortunately, the group there, the Kanto Kimengumi, come around the corner and like, hey, what are you doing here?
Hey, which yakuza family are you in? The MokkoriGumi.
The Mokkori group.
The Boner family.
The Boner family. Ryo Saiba, patriarch of the Mokkori family. Doom, doom,
doom.
Now, it would seem that they're going to be in trouble right now, but the boss of the Kanto Kimengumi comes around the corner, recognizes Ryo, and is like, oh no, it's fine, let him in. And Ryo doesn't seem to want to talk to him, because apparently they've got a little bit of history here. So, this guy, the boss of the Kanto Kimengumi, he appears to be some kind of art enthusiast, and he has all of his yakuza there in the room, the main room, the tatami room, practicing art. You know, they've got a man there posing for everybody, and he seems to have some very weird opinions about journalism and the proletariat and the way he rejects capitalism.
What is he going on about?
I don't know. This guy just got out of community college philosophy, the way he's carrying on. But apparently the history that he has with Ryo is that he's asked Ryo to pose as a model for his yakuza to practice their art.
Because apparently yakuza need to know how to be artists now. He seems to be talking about this like, oh, well, we can't just be yakuza. We also have to be a legitimate business, and we have to train legitimate artists now. Okay, whatever you want, man.
That's not how I took it at all, but at the same time, it was just weird. And he offers Ryo, hey, look, whatever I offered you last time, I'll double it. And Ryo tells him flat out, look, man, you know I can't stand the yakuza. But really, after this whole rant that he goes on about what he feels about journalists and writers and things of that nature, none of this is actually giving Azusa the things that she wants for her book, and so she leaves very disappointed.
She just needs to find a different yakuza family. This one's just weird, honestly. She just needed to look. I'm sure there were multiple other yakuza families she could have gone to. In fact, we've met multiple other yakuza families in this region already.
And so she's there complaining on the street, this isn't what I wanted. I didn't want to hear his views on the proletariat. I wanted to find narcotic smuggling or gambling, real yakuza crap. And Ryo tells her, look, even if they were doing that kind of stuff, there's no way they were gonna tell you. And she's like, no, I know that. That's why I wanted to sneak in. so I could eavesdrop. So that's her day shot. So she goes back to her hotel to go ahead and shower off and have a relaxing drink.
She gets out of the shower, towels up, she's got that drink in her hand, and then for some reason Ryo is there, which freaks her the hell out. It's incredible. She throws her drink and he manages to catch it, and it doesn't lose a single drop. He's just caught a whole cup still full of drink.
And she goes running like in very quick motion, like they cut frames to show she's very frantically trying to hide herself, because right now she's just in a towel.
It's really panicked looking. It just looks like she's a human cockroach just skittering away in terror.
And so she goes running into the closest thing she can find, which is the closet, and asks Ryo, well, how did you get in here?
While she's hiding in the closet, unfortunately, she is not alone in the closet. Kaori, for some reason, is in the closet, and she's asking, how is it that you guys even got in here? And Ryo won't answer the question, but who actually, gives the... does she ask, did you come in through the closet?
No, she just asks, how did you get in here? And Ryo says, well, you're a detective writer, you figure it out. And so once she comes out of the closet, scared, realizing Kaori was right next to her, Ryo tries to make moves again, but he's just met with double hammers from both Kaori and Azusa. Azusa only having a 50-ton and Kaori having a 100-ton.
But we do see that they have come through that closet. In fact, it's not really a closet, it's more like a
wardrobe.
It's like a wardrobe, but it's a wardrobe that is directly built into and connected to the wall. So they've gotten a hotel room right next to her, and they also have a wardrobe built into the wall. Conveniently, it connects to the wardrobe built into the other side of the wall, and so Ryo has busted open a hole in the wall through the wardrobe, so there's just weird mans coming through the wall and out the wardrobe into her hotel room.
So this is not the first time that Ryo has found an adjoining room and just broken down the wall to get at some woman.
This dude's got a problem.
Yeah, he did it with Reika, and now he's doing it again here. And so that night, because, as we say, they've got the room adjoining, at 1:20 in the morning, Ryo, who happens to have already been tied up by Kaori in his sleeping mat, is using his teeth to break through the boards that she has put up in between the two wardrobe closets, tears that down, and comes back into Azusa's room, only to find both her and Kaori at the ready with a hammer.
And ready to throw him out the window, which, they do this to him a lot. He just can't be trusted in the apartment, so we have to throw the whole man out the window and just let him hang there from a rope
all night.
The entire night. Eventually, you see, he's screaming probably for hours until finally, just before the sun comes up, he has screamed himself to sleep. Just snoring, hanging upside down.
So the next morning, Azusa is trying to make up for the terrible day she had the day before, and hauls ass trying to get to a taxi to get away from Ryo. But unfortunately, he's in very close proximity, gets in the taxi with her, and is like, all right, if I promise to be good, will you let me come with you? And she's like, all right, fine. Well, today, we're not going to see any Yakuza groups. We're going to meet a trained killer.
Oh, really? Wonder who that is. Surely nobody we know.
And she's like, I can't tell you. He didn't give names, but we're gonna find out. We're meeting him at this restaurant.
And there's a password that I'm supposed to say when I meet him.
Let's go.
And they go into that restaurant.
And they're looking for a guy with a red rose.
And guess who's got that red rose?
It's our buddy, Izumi Bozu.
He's a very large bald man with sunglasses, and he's got a rose in his pocket, which he must have just plucked from somewhere because it's still got a little bit of dew on it. And so they go up, and the lady's got a password that she needs to say to him to confirm, yes, this is who we need to talk to. So she starts it with the phrase, Koko wa doko, which is, where am I?
Right.
Where is this?
And Umibozu's response is, Watashi wa dare, which would basically mean, who am I?
To which Ryo's reaction is just this really silly shock,
pratfall,
stun, and you're just kind of like, well, what? Did they say something stupid? If you don't have a cultural context for this, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I admit, I had to, do a little bit of internet digging before we got here. So, I searched the phrase, and I searched around on some Japanese sites just to see if I could get anything. And I guess this phrase was really common in the 80s, especially in dramas, or at least around this general time period, in TV dramas and stuff. Somebody would get amnesia, and they would ask, where am I? Who am I? And they would all say that. And, I guess it took off as, oh my god, this stupid trope. And it became a joke, and then it also, over time, just sort of morphed into, you say this out of disbelief. Oh my god, where even am I? Who even am I? Like, it turns into an idea of exasperation. So, kind of like we've got sayings that don't literally mean the words that we are saying. This phrase has become something that doesn't literally mean the words that they are saying, but certainly around this time period. Like, this phrase is so overused on TV, and I guess everybody knows it.
Well, along with that too, even here in the States, you think of the old trope of old soap operas where that always was a thing where characters would get amnesia at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that that's something that carries on in between both countries in their media.
Right, very true.
So as they're here having this meeting, Azusa's got her tape recorder out and she just wants to ask Umibozu a few questions to get some background on what somebody in the underworld would do in certain situations. So the first thing she asks him is, say you had to take on a job where you had to take out, because she's trying to be careful of her phrasing, an acquaintance. What would you do? And Ryo interrupts before Umibozu can even say anything, and he's like, you wouldn't take the job. But Umibozu kind of echoes back the answer, no, you wouldn't take that job because it'd be too personal.
She's getting a lot of good info, actually.
Then she asks if he has a girlfriend.
Which makes him very flustered, because we know Umibozu, this is just his character. He's very nervous about just the idea of women being close to him. I'm shocked he's even letting this reporter get as close to him as he is. Or, not reporter, but...
Writer.
Writer, yeah.
But then she asks the really interesting question, have you heard of the other person? Because I heard there are two top killers here in Shinjuku. One is you, and the other is somebody I've heard of by the name of City Hunter.
And she's just got no idea that that's Ryo, which I don't entirely understand. I guess her publisher really left her in the dark. I guess the publisher is really the one who hired him, so they knew to go to City Hunter, but I guess she didn't. So she just doesn't even know that that's exactly who she's been working with.
And this is one of the few cases, I think, where it's not that strange for somebody to be looking for City Hunter and not know they're talking to City Hunter. I think this is one of the few episodes, just to kind of get ahead of ourselves here, where the person looking for City Hunter never finds out it's Ryo.
Oh, that's true. That is true. It never actually comes up.
But Umibozu and Ryo both give each other that look of like, she don't even know.
Oh, she doesn't know, does she?
She doesn't even know.
I'll tell you right now.
Well, because she asks, how would you guys square off? What would happen if you guys dueled?
Yeah, and Umibozu's just kind of like, oh, you know, I'd win. And Ryo is very upset about this, and our lady ma'am Azusa really does not understand why. But Ryo is very upset, like, the hell you would!
Let's throw down right now! And she's like, shut up, I'm trying to have an interview! Not realizing the person you're talking about is literally right here. And so Ryo has to go sit outside, like he's been kicked out of this interview, and he has to go sit on the curb next to this cute little dog wagging its tail.
Yeah, so everybody's looking outside, and it's difficult to tell whether they're looking at Ryo, who's been kicked out of the restaurant, or the adorable little puppy that he is now sitting next to that's also looking at him.
But back inside, Umibozu is telling Azusa, all I know for sure is if I ran into that guy, we would tango. Like he's trying to be cool. And she's like, great, that's such good information. Is there anything else that you want to know? And Umibozu's like, yeah, actually. And he pulls out a copy of her book. Could you sign it for me? I liked your book.
He's such a weirdo.
Like, he's all red in the face, and all he's trying to do is get an autograph.
Well, yeah, and this might be just the very normal kind of you get nervous when you're talking to somebody that you're impressed with, like a semi-celebrity. If she's had a lot of books written, and he actually bothered to read her book, and it's not necessarily about her being a woman, although he is really bad about talking to women, but it could just be, oh, it's the celebrity stature and asking for an autograph and being nervous about it.
So after all this is said and done, Ryo and Umibozu argue outside the restaurant for a little bit, but Azusa returns back to the hotel to continue her writing. Now, while she's working on her novel, she's coming up with ideas for who this main character is going to be, describing this person as the nicer they look, the dirtier they are, and they're actually really good at their job, and is unwittingly describing all the things about Ryo she doesn't know.
Yeah. Oh, this poor woman.
And so Ryo is back in the closet keeping an eye on her.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
But Cowdy's there too. And she's like, how's it going? And he's like,
You You still keeping an eye on her? You protecting her from here in the closet like a freak?
Yes, I'm doing just fine. And Cowdy's like, what's that in your pocket?
There's a bra in his pocket. But I mean, of course Rio can't possibly just be looking out at this woman from the closet, just protecting her like a dude who actually has decent intentions. Cause he be in there stealing her lingerie too. And Kaori's pulling it out because of course she is. She's always the one that catches him with it. And he's just like insisting, as always, this isn't a big deal. Please don't
I don't even know how that got in there.
Don't be hitting me.
And she doesn't though. She just ties him up and then gags him.
You know, like you do.
So from here on out, the story gets really... And I know I said this last week or a week before, it's really contrived here how we move the plot forward because it's a lot of really lucky guesses. So Azusa's there working on her book and she's trying to figure out, well, I need a device. I need something to be smuggled and I need a place for people to smuggle it from. Where would they hide things? Oh yeah, an antique shop. I'm just gonna go find an antique shop.
Like right now. Like, why wait? I've gotta go now.
And so she is under the impression she's just gonna go out on the street, find any antique shop, and whichever one she finds, there's gonna be something illegal going on there.
I mean, she's right, but
that's what I'm saying.
That's what's really funny is that is absolutely what happened. So, do you know what we gotta do, Josh? We just gotta be walking into antique shops and looking for trouble to go down, because apparently they're all like that if you can just run into them.
Like, this is not the Yakuza series of games. You can't just go into anywhere and find trouble.
Well, she did. She found trouble. So she's just looking around at stuff because apparently nobody's in there.
Yeah, she has found a particular place called Curios that sells curios, antiques, antiquities, things of that nature. Which, yeah, like you say, the door's wide open. There's nobody home. None of the doors are locked. So she just walks into the manager's office and is just like, looking for illegal things, where are the guns, where are the drugs, they're around here somewhere. And then the owners show back up, a guy in glasses and a dude who kind of looks like Jack Nicholson before he becomes the Joker in Batman, but there's no way that's a reference because this episode came out a year and a couple of months before that movie even came out in the States.
So it just looks familiar, but there's no relation.
But these guys are in fact crooks.
And they want to sell some fake shit, specifically just fake antiques. They bring up, oh, we've got these really old brushes owned by Kobo Daishi.
Kaylin, who's Kobo Daishi?
I'm glad you asked, Josh. This is very specific to a thing that I have been researching just for my own interests for a very long time, actually. So Kobo Daishi was this Buddhist guy centuries ago, and he did this pilgrimage on the island of Shikoku. So Shikoku's one of the 4 major islands of Japan, the 4 big ones. And so Shikoku has 88 temples that are kind of like on the outside of the whole island. And supposedly Kobo Daishi, this Buddhist, went and spread Buddhism all around the island, and he visited these 8 different places, and there's 88 different temples. And to this day, people walk this whole pilgrimage that Kobo Daishi, the same route that he supposedly took, and they visit all 88 of these temples. There's people that cheap out and they just do the whole thing by bus, which that's cheating. But if you were doing it by foot, it would take you a month or more to actually do it. But it's something that I've actually been wanting to do for a very long time, and I'll probably never do it because I'll probably never be in shape to do it, and I'll probably never be able to afford that much time off to go and do it. Anyway, that's who Kobo Daishi is, and they're claiming that they've got these ancient writing brushes of his. They're not real, they're fake, they're super hella fake, but they're hoping to make a buck off of it, or a yen? A yen.
Well, specifically, they've got a mark for these brushes, and that mark happens to be the leader of the Kanto Kimengumi that we met at the beginning of the episode.
Wow, that's convenient!
That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of conveniences here. So as they're saying this to each other, this is our plan. We're going to sell these brushes to the boss of the Kanto Kimengumi. I'm just going to call him Mr. Kanto for short.
Did he have a name?
No, they never gave his name.
Okay, he's the patriarch.
The patriarch, okay. So, we're going to sell these to the patriarch, and literally as soon as they're done saying that, they call him up like, hey, can you guys put the patriarch on the phone? Yeah, one moment. Hey, this is the patriarch. Hey, man, we got these Kobo Daishi brushes. You want them? Yeah, all right. All right, 10 o'clock tonight, Harumi Wharf. Meet you there. Bring the money.
I'm pretty sure we've visited this location in a previous episode.
Harumi Wharf?
I'm pretty sure we have.
Yeah, we've had some fights break out there at Harumi Wharf.
They do this a lot. I'm shocked there's not more police presence down there.
You would think, since there's so many gunfights that break out at Harumi Wharf.
A lot of yakuza dealings down there.
You guys should have a vice squad just on the warehouses at Harumi Wharf. Like, for real. So the Patriarch agrees to all of this. They hang up the phone, and it's at that moment that Jack Nicholson looking dude notices, hey, there's feet hanging out from underneath this curtain. There's somebody in here!
Whoop, 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 whoop.
So Azusa tries to make her escape, but she can't get past these two dudes. Won't someone come and save her?
I mean, good thing Umibozu was just around, I guess. He comes in through the door and, like, it's really fast, but he's such a large person that he's gotta dip and, like, just duck under the door frame.
Like, the door cuts off at his mouth, right? The door frame. And he's gotta duck underneath. He grabs the desk that's in the room, this really big wood oak desk, and chucks it at the two guys.
You would think that this is like Kiryu in Yakuza. He's just lifting furniture and throwing it at people.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, but mind you, Kiryu is a much smaller dude, and Umibozu is a very large, menacing man. You expect he might be able to do this.
Yeah, like if you're familiar with that series, Umibozu is more the size and shape of Saejima from that series.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, real big hulking dude. And so he chucks the desk, grabs Azusa under his arm, and then just hauls ass out of there. So they're back at the hotel now, and Azusa's explained to everybody, so I overheard all of this, and I'm gonna go follow them.
Ryo thinks that she shouldn't go, but Umibozu says, well, she can go if I go with her, I'll go with her. And then everybody just decides, yes, we should all go. Azusa's like, why don't you come with me, Kaori? Kaori's like, okay. And everybody else is like, not you, Ryo. You're gonna stay right here. Ryo is very sad.
You should see his face.
Just, you actually almost feel sorry for this man, because it's just, the animators gave him the saddest face. It is so sad. Like, we have not been describing every single moment of really goofy facial animation, but this was one of the good ones. This was one big, like, it's impossible to describe to you how comical these faces are on a podcast where you can't see anything. It's impossible to describe all of these instances.
But they're so good. Like, Ryo, he gets shocked, and then just the tears around his eyes, like, oh, you guys are just leaving me out, that's fine, go on without me. He's like so sad, he looks pathetic.
Kaori puts her foot in his face, and he's just like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here.
But he doesn't actually, because somebody's gotta drive.
Yeah.
And guess what's back? The Mini! For the first time this season.
Which we don't even see the entire Mini, we just kind of see the hood, the headlights, that's about it. But hold on.
So we're under the impression, right? 4 people had to go to the wharf, and we only see the Mini there.
I mean, maybe Umibozu drove his Jeep, but we do not see the Jeep. We just have to sort of assume the only car used was the Mini Cooper. And technically speaking, you can put 4 people in a Mini Cooper, but Umibozu is the size of 4 people.
Umibozu is the size of 6 people.
He's a very large man, and there have been other instances where we have seen Umibozu in the back seat of the Mini Cooper, and his head is just like poking up into the roof. He's way too large for that car, so we've put all 4 of those people into this little ass car. Okay, this is just clown car looking shit if we actually had seen them get out of this car.
Exactly, and also for sure Ryo's gonna have to take in the Mini again to get the shocks done from just carrying Umibozu's enormous ass.
Probably.
We haven't actually been talking about this the entire episode. Umibozu is very wide. Like, when he's there on screen, like, say it's just him and Ryo.
He's so broad-shouldered.
He takes up half the screen.
He does.
So the 4 of them are there at the warehouse where the meeting is supposed to happen, and the meeting goes down textbook. The Jack Nicholson-looking guy shows up first, and then the Patriarch shows up, and they're like, hey, you got the money?
You got the stuff?
Yeah, I got it right here. Leave it on the floor, and then we're gonna walk across to the other thing. And then as soon as Jack Nicholson dude gets to the money, he's like, ha, sucker!
Shabams! Blam, blam, blam! And I just started blasting.
Yeah, so he's got dudes there with Tommy guns, and Patriarch dude's like, oh man, I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. He's like, you're right, you shouldn't have.
Yeah, Kobo Daishi brushes? Who the fuck would have believed that? Haha.
I got these at Don Quixote.
Sucker.
But then all the lights go out.
Oh no. Why all lights go out? There's a lot of good shadowing that comes up here because guess what? We've got some heroes to come in and save the day.
And they ask, who's out there? And Ryo's about to introduce himself all badass.
Because Because, he came anyway, like we said.
And he's like, I am
Umibozu! And Umibozu just jumps into frame. And he's like, it's me. It's me. I'm here to stop all of this. I'm gonna save the day. I was the one that was asked to come here. Here I am.
And then there's gunfire. And then Ryo's just knocking dudes out, giving them the chops, punching them in the face.
Good shadowing. He's like coming out of the shadows and then disappearing back into the shadows. It's pretty good.
And so after enough guys have been taken down, Ryo tells Jack Nicholson looking guy, all right, drop your gun. All your goons are gone. And he's like, oh, you think those were all the goons I brought? I brought in another 80s icon, Optimus Prime.
So an 18-wheeler blows through the wall.
Which looks suspiciously like the 18-wheeler that showed up in Umibozu's first episode, all the way back in episode 7.
They really like using some of the same themes over and over again, which, by the way, there was one reference that we had missed when they were talking in the coffee shop. You remember they had met up there, they agreed to meet up in Shibuya.
Yes.
And Ryo was like, yeah, Shibuya, a really good place to meet up, sitting on top of the Hachiko statue, which was a reference to a very early episode with Umibozu in it, where he tricked Umibozu into going to meet somebody at the wrong place and wearing stupid clothes and holding stupid things and then sitting on top of a Hachiko statue.
Actually, that reminds me, that was episode 7. Umibozu's first episode was episode 6, where Optimus Prime showed up. No, you're right. Okay, glad we clarified that.
We're good.
Okay, so this Optimus Prime Mack truck that just busted through the wall is full of more dudes with Tommy guns, and Umibozu don't give a damn. He's like, let's party.
He's like, I can take a few bullets, I got enough meat.
But there are many dudes, and it does seem like Umibozu's just a little outnumbered, but in comes Ryo, Batman style, on a winch.
Whee! Yeah, just swinging in.
And he's blasting people.
He's just blam, 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 blam.
And Jack Nicholson guy's like, crap, I need a hostage. Here, writer chick, you're with me now.
The Patriarch guy, who by the way has been like hiding behind a car like a friggin' coward this entire time, he finally actually does something kind of decent, and he comes out and he's just like, hit him in the back, the guy with the gun, and kind of knock her free so she can run away. And in that distraction, Umibozu's able to just grab the gun that he's holding by the barrel.
And he's taunting Jack Nicholson guy like, go ahead and try and pull the trigger. You'll blow your hand off.
Because I guess Umibozu's grip is just that hardcore.
Oh, he's got kung fu grip. The man must have a grip like a vice. But then Ryo steps in and he's like, hey, look, I don't care whether or not you're holding the gun or he's holding the gun. I'll put both of you down with my .357 Magnum.
Oh, you wouldn't shoot through your buddy, wouldn't I?
Also, we're not buddies.
Go ahead, call my bluff, see what happens. And then the guy's like, I do not want to do that. You might do it. So then he gives up and he tells everybody else, all right, I don't want him to shoot me. So put your guns down, everybody.
And he asks Ryo after he's given up, wait, so were you gonna do it? Were you gonna shoot through this guy?
I don't know. Would you have done it? Hell yeah, I would have. And they're just kind of smiling at each other, while the writer chick is like, oh my god, this is the way men talk and it's so hot.
Yes, because real men talk about how they would blow each other away with their giant guns. Which actually, I like that when the Jack Nicholson guy got Umibozu's gun off him, there was actual animation there of the gun being heavy, like he drops it for a second because of the weight and then rights himself.
Yeah, because this guy, he's not a gunman. He just has other people do it for him.
No, this guy's a con man. Con men don't carry giant guns. Like maybe they've got a Glock.
Maybe.
But like a small one.
One that could not kill Umibozu because he's too meaty.
Also, we've seen Umibozu get shot multiple times and shrug it off.
He's fine. He uses his meatiness to just squeeze the bullets out of his back like he is friggin', I don't know, a Terminator or something. I don't know. What am I thinking of?
What am I thinking? How do I know the visual of squeezing the bullets out?
Just whatever. So he can just squeeze bullets out of his muscles. He can just squeeze his muscles and they just pop out of his back.
But again, this is more of the playful banter in between Ryo and Umibozu about we would totally kill each other, but in fact, you are the only friend I have.
Yeah, because they smile at each other like, this is the way friends talk. I can trust you to shoot me.
I can trust you to shoot me.
Aw, they're best friends.
Why can't we be friends? But they are, though.
They are. They like to say otherwise. But they're friends that would kill each other. But they're friends.
Well, some people would say a true friend is somebody you trust to take you out.
That's true.
I kind of believe that.
But, like, this isn't a matter of, I hope you're the one to take me out. This is a matter of, He's just standing in my way. Blam! I guess I just gotta shoot him. Sorry, best friend.
Okay, maybe. So now, I guess Azusa has enough material to work on, so we assume some time has passed, and now her new book has come out, which is called All Men Are Wolves.
Okay, it's a really boring title, but okay.
Yeah, it's a dandy mystery.
Yeah, I guess that is a particular chain of books in a particular series, I guess, published by this Wolf Books or whatever. This publisher is called Wolf Books, so that sounds to me like she really didn't think very hard about this title, but okay.
Also, you see the cartoon wolf there on the back of the book.
It's a very comical looking wolf. It doesn't look very hardcore at all.
But Cowdy has herself a copy, and she's reading through it and seems to really like it.
She just sort of gets the idea that one of the characters sounds really familiar, and then she kind of looks over the book, and Ryo is sitting there in the window as if he knows that he's posing for a camera.
And there's the zoom out, we start hearing Supergirl, Cowdy finishes her senbei, and that's the end of the episode.
You're a rice cracker. Yeah, she's eating a rice cracker at the same time.
I mean, yeah, some people want to snack while they read their novels.
I would do that.
You'd do that now.
I'd do that right now. Give me a snack.
Later.
We don't have any M&Ms.
Actually, we didn't have any M&Ms this episode.
You're right. I didn't get to eat any M&Ms, Josh.
Also, there was no M&Ms
No,
product placement.
I know. They did not do any product placement this episode. Because there was no room for it. Because there was too much cartooniness happening.
Like, this might be one of my favorite episodes just on a pure visual level.
Sure. There's so many good reaction images. I can't wait to take a bunch of screenshots.
Like, if this were to perpetuate out into the ether across the internet, some people would use these as legitimate reaction images.
I would imagine so.
I know I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's not just like it's one or two, it's several in clusters, joke after joke after joke. Like, you're not going more than like 2-3 minutes without another cluster of these faces, most of them within a contained scene.
Yeah.
And like you were saying earlier, it's not just Ryo. Cowdy does it sometimes. Azusa has a few of them, but mainly it's Ryo, followed by Cowdy. Like, there's one at one point where they're visiting the Kanto Kimengumi earlier in the episode that Ryo has a reaction face. It drops off his face and then it grows onto Cowdy's face.
Yes.
It's just so good.
Very, very good. Can't wait to share some of these screenshots.
Do you think that this was a case, because I fully believe this is what's going on, especially also looking at the preview for next episode, it does appear that they've got a larger budget to work with?
Entirely possible, because they went ahead and confirmed a second season, and now they're gonna go on for more than a year for this season. So I get the feeling that City Hunter was doing very well at that point in time, and they were like, here, have the budget to kind of go crazy for a little bit.
And they did.
I didn't see any deep cuts like Sunrise referencing themselves in this episode. You would think in an episode like this they would do it, but they did not.
I almost wonder if it was a completely different animation team, because it's not like we haven't seen Ryo make reaction faces before. It's just there were a very certain type, and there were so many of them.
Well, sometimes an episode will have a different director or something. So a different director might have a different decision about how they approach that animation for that particular episode.
That makes sense. So whoever was in charge of this episode, my hat is off to you, good sir. This was amazing.
Maybe we should have looked this up.
Probably.
Okay. Are we gonna do that right now? No.
So this was a good episode to go ahead and discuss, but next week's episode we're going to cover another case where it seems like Ryo's got, from what I could tell, I don't exactly remember this one right off the top of my head, but it does seem like another case where Ryo's got another client who's younger than they should be, and that's going to present some issues.
We just gotta put out the warnings when we can. That's all we can do.
And also hope that they're legal, because Ryo has a policy, no kids.
But sometimes the writers forget a little bit.
And you gotta remind them.
Even though he says it all the time, I don't know. These writers and these animators are like, but we want to see some interaction with some boobies. We don't care whose boobies they are. It's really the animation team's fault. I almost have to put less blame on Ryo, if only because, like, no, you said, man. You clearly said.
On some level, we're giving him a little credit, but we're also saying, hey, this might be what's up.
Yeah, okay. So come back next time when we cover the 6th episode of City Hunter 2, Ryo's a nude model, the beautiful artist who stole a masterpiece.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both on Twitter. Still, I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 56th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, you know what will happen.
Wait, what'll happen?
You know.